Now, you will hear the spoken words from Rev Ryan and myself. So Rev Ryan will go first. So Ryan, if you're out there, if you'd unmute yourself.
Hey guys, how you doing? Well, I came to you earlier from the outdoor sanctuary of St. Joseph's. A little bit of a Catholic Easter service, but I'm kind of with you guys. I lean more towards the Henry David Thoreau type sanctuary, so I decided to preach this morning's sermon from the Flower Patch. But actually, I liked that reading a lot, Russ. I really did. Um, but I'm going to go to another theologian, Karl Barth, who actually said that we should preach our sermons with a Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other. That reading was from neither, so I wanted to do a quick,
Ryan. Sorry, but Presbyterians may preach with the Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other. But as Unitarian Universalists, we preach holding a Bible, several East Coast newspapers, the Tao Te Ching, the Bhagavad Gita, a copy of the Upanishads, and also a radio playing NPR.
Oh, how I love being a Unitarian Universalist on the first Sunday of the month. Well, I'm going to do a quick verse from each of my newspapers and Bible to kick things off. So, Mercury News this morning, a quick verse. Unemployment claims in California jumped past 100,000 last week, an indicator that the state's feeble job market faces an arduous path of economic resurrection. And then we flip over the Bible. I am a Christian pastor, nevertheless, but we're not going to do the typical Easter story. This one comes from the raising of Lazarus. Jesus said in John 11, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? He asks. All right, so y'all know the Easter story, or at least the sugar-coated, cliff-noted version of it that was recited in Sunday school lessons preceding Easter egg hunts of our youth, right? Long story short, this guy named Jesus causes a big stir by his miracles and his teachings. Then he proceeds to dine with 12 trusted disciples. This was last Thursday, or this past Thursday and Maundy Thursday. It's the Last Supper, but it was a kind of recognition of the Passover. However, one of those disciples, Judas, was not so trusted, and he betrays Jesus. So after dinner, Jesus goes to a garden, and he's stolen away by soldiers, sentenced to death, nailed to a cross, shoved in a tomb, and upon his death, dives into the depths of the devil's fiery underworld for 3 long days. Then we have this morning, Sunday morning, Easter morning, the people awoke to see the stone that sealed his tomb had been rolled away. Jesus had been resurrected. But what the heck is resurrection? What is that word? We've heard it before. Resurrection. Anastasis in the Greek text literally means a standing up again. Resurrection, a standing up again. Sociologically, physiologically, psychologically, spiritually, we've all gotten knocked down this past year. Anybody? Yeah, we've gotten knocked down. We've all made sacrifices. Hopefully nobody has been sacrificed. That's the other side of the holiday. So we've all made sacrifices, though. And we were all quarantined inside our living room tombs. Now, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say we spent a year or 3 days in the devil's dungeon, but there was a hellish component to 2020, and I think everybody will vouch for that. We all got knocked down, but there comes a time when we are called to roll away our stones. Spiritually, socially, psychologically, and physically. Roll away our stones. I'm going to ditch these sunglasses. They keep falling down on my head. There is a day of which we are called to resurrect. What if that day was today, Easter Sunday? What if today was the day that we were supposed to reclaim our freedom? What if today was the day to walk out of our tomb and re-enter the world? It would be a happy day. Happy Easter. A scary day, though, because we've been safe inside those living room sanctuaries for a year now. But we're not called to live in living rooms. We're not called to live in safety. We are called to be free. We are called to be happy. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are our rights. So they were written. But freedom is worldly. Happiness is holy. I like John Lennon once wrote, doing what you like is freedom. Liking what you do is happiness. This past year of entombment, if nothing else, I hope taught us to like what we do. It gave us time to sit still, to be attentive and hopefully appreciative, to be present and to be passionate. And this spring, we're called once again to life. In Christian Bible terms, it's a life of grace, forgiven of our shortcomings. In sociological newspaper terms, it's a vaccinated life. For me, that accepting grace is not easy because my life has always been one of intrinsic guilt. And that's one thing, one tune that we're called out of, and one that I wanted to close out today with. You see, I've been working on accepting this grace gift, that springtime, that Easter time, that we're called to live as the flower blooms. So every morning I awake with a mantra, and I want to pass that along to you this Easter Sunday in hopes that it will help you roll away your stone. If you're like me, maybe it's a stone of guilt. It could be any number of things, but to claim your freedom and pursue the happiness of what you were meant to experience. That mantra is, today I will claim gratitude over guilt. For me, that's rebirth. Gratitude for the sunrise, for my mask-free morning walks with my dog. Gratitude for Sunday services with my crazy Universalist Unitarian friends. Gratitude for spring flowers and April showers. And gratitude for my freedom to pursue happiness. Resurrection is a life beyond the physical, beyond sociological newspaper stories, beyond biblical texts, beyond the Bhagavad Gita, beyond any number of writings, life that we are called to live. My friends, today, you, not Jesus, are called to resurrect, to stand up again. So whatever that means in your life, pursue it. And happy Easter.
Thank you. After Jesus' tomb was found empty, Mary Magdalene, Mary, mother of James, and Salome were in a really bad place. The Gospel of Mark says, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they were afraid. Can you imagine having your hopes and plans destroyed? The followers of Jesus had just experienced the horrible death of their beloved teacher. They were afraid. They were afraid to go outside, for danger lurked everywhere for them. Their life had been turned inside out, and all sense of normalcy was gone overnight. Nothing was ever going to be like it was before. The Gospel of John says that they were hiding in a locked room. Danger and death were just outside of that locked room, and they had no real way of knowing what was going on. As Ryan's mentioned, does this sound familiar at all? Have you ever been afraid to go outside and feared death from other people you know? Have you locked yourself in a room, afraid of the outside world? Have you lost all sense of normalcy overnight? Have you been afraid of what might happen next? The disciples and followers of Jesus were traumatized. We have all been traumatized by what happened to us in 2020. Now, likely the followers of Jesus experienced what we now call PTSD. Maybe we have it too. For me, Easter's not about what happened to Jesus's body. It's about what happened to the disciples who survived those days of death, fear, isolation, paranoia, and loss. It's about what happened to the women who went to the tomb, discovered it empty, and were seized with trembling and bewilderment. For me, Easter is about what the followers of Jesus did afterwards. For me, Jesus wasn't resurrected, but the disciples were. This, this ancient story isn't ancient at all. It's current. We have suffered great loss. We are grieving. We are afraid of what might happen next. We have fallen into despair and we don't know what to do. And we're still locked in our rooms, knowing that nothing will ever be like it was before. Everything has changed. We are wounded and we carry the pain of loss. But if you live long enough, you learn that when you are broken, you have to decide what happens next. We have to continue on with our lives. We have to keep going. And with time, our brokenness can transform us. Our brokenness can allow us to be reborn if we let it. Henri Nouwen says it this way, quote, "You have been wounded in many ways. The great challenge is living your wounds through instead of thinking them through. It's better to cry than to worry. Better to feel your wounds deeply than to try and understand them. Better to let them enter into your silence rather than talk about them. The choice you face constantly is whether you are taking your hurts to your head or to your heart. In your head, you can analyze them, find their causes and consequences, and coin words to speak and write about them. But no final healing is likely to come from that source. You need to let your wounds go down to your heart. Then you can live through them and discover that they will not destroy you. Your heart is greater than your wounds." This is what happened to the followers of Jesus. They were transformed, and they transformed the world. Christianity would not even exist without their resurrections and transformations. They were reborn. For the followers of Jesus, death did not defeat love. Death did not conquer love. Death only changed it. That's the miracle. Their trauma changed how they lived and loved. Jesus' word and Jesus' spirit came alive in his followers. They used their sorrow and spiritual trauma to dedicate themselves to something larger, something greater than just themselves. They were reborn, and that's a miracle. And now it's our turn. Our traumas are raw. Our sorrows are slowly being revealed. We have lost aspects of our previous life that we don't even comprehend yet. We haven't begun to grieve. That's where we are today. We're broken in a locked room. But if we come out slowly, if we don't go too fast, we can be reborn and transformed. That's what survivors and wounded people do. We continue on anew. The disciples of Jesus became wounded healers and took Jesus' message of love and compassion into the world with a dedication and a commitment that could not have happened without their trauma, without their loss, without their sorrow. May we use our trauma. May we use our loss. May we use our brokenness and sorrow to be reborn and to dedicate our lives to love and compassion like never before. This is our time of transformation. Our stone has been rolled away from our COVID tomb. It's bright outside. Let's go slowly. Let us become reborn. Let us bring hope and compassion and love into this new life. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.